Okay, so hello everybody. We had so many features in the pipeline that we decided to do 2 releases in quick succession. So even though we announced only the 11.3 version, it's now 11.4, which was installed yesterday or today for you. So let's have a look at what's there. In the last month or a year at least, we have been working a lot on stuff that is related to Counter 5 to Counter 5.1 transition, because this is something that is, even though Counter 5.1 is here already for more than 1 year, the transition is still in the progress. Some of the platforms are stopping to support Counter 5. Some of them are only slowly starting with 5.1 and so on. So there will be more new stuff about this transition. Then there are some SUSHI management improvements, some new stuff in reporting, then some stuff related to cost per use and the data hub. As Simona mentioned, there will be 2 webinars about cost per use and the data hub in the following 2 weeks. So these new features are related mostly to these stuff that will be talked about in the upcoming webinars. Then there are several other new, small or larger cool features, and there are some security enhancement. So I will now switch directly to CELUS because, as always, it's best to show it to you in real life and not only talk about it. So let's go directly to new Counter 5 to 5.1 transition features. So the first one I would like to show you is the data coverage overview. I hope that most of you know this page. And here we show you how much of the data you have for individual reports. So for instance, if I click here on Counter 5.1 title report, I will see that for some platforms, I have complete coverage for the 2+ years I have selected here, but for some of them, there is no coverage in some of the months. And of course, this is highly influenced by the availability of the data. So if you, in these 2 years, if some platforms have switched from 5 to 5.1 and they no longer offer 5 in 5.1, then they don't have the old data, then you will see like holes in the data here in 5.1. And in 5, you will see that some data are no longer available in the date ranges. So this is why we created this Counter 5.5.1 merged view, where you can see that the usage is combined and the coverage is combined from the 2 reports. So here, if it's red, it's only in the case where you have neither 5 nor 5.1. But if you have one of them, you will see green here as well. So as you can see here, for instance, for title report, I have 56% coverage for TR in 5, 62 for 5.1, but in total for both of them I have 80% coverage here. So this is very interesting, very important, because the split between 5 and 5.1, in some views you really want to look at those 2 reports as one, and this is what is done here in this view. A very similar thing is also available in the platform detail view, but the data coverage here is such that if you look at Counter 5, this platform has only up to 2025, they have Counter 5, and since then they have Counter 5.1. But if you look at the complete coverage from the 2 merge reports, you will see that you have complete coverage of the whole date range. And if you, for instance, use reporting and then you select TR5 plus TR5.1 and you merge them together, you will see data for the whole period. So this is one very important new feature. And then there are more things related to this transition between 5 and 5.1 in SUSHI management. And what we have changed is cloning of credentials. So in the previous versions, you could clone credentials from 5 to 5.1. So if the platform transitioned from 5 to 5.1, you just cloned your credentials and started using the new credentials in 5.1. but we only permitted it for unbroken credentials, so working credentials. But in the meantime, the situation has slightly changed. Some of you, if you, for instance, if you create credentials for 5.1, or if you already had working credentials for 5, you create them for 5, and they don't work because, for instance, the platform no longer offers counter 5, then you had to create the credentials once again for 5.1 because you couldn't clone it if it was broken. So what we changed is that you can now clone even broken credentials. So if you create credentials for 5, and then you can clone them to 5.1, even if they are marked as broken. And what we also allow now is that you can see here that you can even downgrade, you can clone from 5.1 to 5. This is also sometimes useful because sometimes you create credentials for 5.1, and then when you harvest the data, you find out that the data is only available for, let's say, 2026, but not in past. And then you can try to clone it into 5 and see if you have the historical data available through counter 5. So this is what we have changed. You can clone both 5 to 5.1 and back from 5.1 to 5, and you can also clone broken credentials. Another interesting feature here is that we are recognizing platforms which no longer offer counter 5, and we will highlight them for you. So for instance, if I would start creating credentials for EBSCO, which no longer offers counter 5, they only offer 5.1. If I wanted to select 5 here, it would tell me, no, sorry, but counter 5 is no longer available for this platform. I can select it, and CELUS will tell me, sorry, you can no longer turn on automatic harvesting here, but what you can do, you can still create the credentials, save them, and have them for, let's say, future reference or something like that, but you will not be able to harvest it. But I will do it here just for the sake of showing you how it behaves. I will not plan a harvest, but you can now see that these credentials are marked with this orange arrow, and this tells you, sorry, but these credentials wouldn't work anymore. Counter 5 is no longer supported by this platform. You have to clone it into 5.1 for it to work. So if I can now, for instance, select these 3 sets of credentials, you will see that I can only clone 2 of them because these are no longer, I already have both versions here. If I select clone now, it will tell me, okay, I will clone 1 set of credentials from 5 to 5.1, 1 I will downgrade from 5.1 to 5, and 1 I will skip because you already have both. And now I can simply clone it. It will create the missing versions and I can work with it. So this is another interesting feature. But some of the platforms only offer historical data in counter 5. So if I were, for instance, to try to create credentials for JSTOR, you will see here some mention that data are only available until March 2025. So if I now select it, it will tell me, okay, data is only available until March 2025. You can, these credentials, you can work with them, but you can no longer turn on automatic harvesting because that's only working in the future, but you can create your credentials and harvest the historical data. So this is another useful thing. We are managing this information on our side. So every time we find out that some platform no longer supports 5 or they stopped offering data in 5 at some point in time, we will propagate it to your CELUS, and existing credentials will be automatically disabled. You will see it in your SUSHI management that these credentials have to be upgraded into 5.1 for them to work in the future. So these are some of the features related to SUSHI. Here in this filter of potential issues, you can filter down to those that are no longer available. So this means that counter 5 no longer works, or which has limited availability. those are the counter 5 that only offer historical data. So you can use this filter to find out which of your credentials are of this nature. Then there are some other things that are related to SUSHI, which are not really about counter 5, counter 5.1. As you have already seen, there has been a change in how the UI of the SUSHI credentials looks. And what we have added are hints about the format of expected requester ID, customer ID, and so on. Pediatrics is a very good example. What we did is we went through all credentials that we already have for these platforms. We did an analysis and we identified patterns in how the requester ID, customer ID, or API key looks like. And then we offer this information here as hints. So you can see that, for instance, here, the requester ID should be a numerical value, only numbers, and the expected length is 5. So if I start typing numbers, it will show me in green that I'm on a good path because I am entering only numbers. And once I reach the expected length, I will see that, okay, yeah, this may be a valid requester ID. For customer ID, if I start entering letters, it will show me, okay, the expected length is 4, but it's not numeric. So probably you need some different ID here, and the same for API key and so on. So if you are entering new credentials, this is very helpful. It can help you identify potential problems. Sometimes you make a typo, you type some letter twice or something. And if we know that it should be 6 letters and you type 7, we will show you, and you can easily spot the problem. So this is another neat feature here. What's more here in SUSHI management is that we have changed how we show you the downloads, the history of what has been downloaded. In the past, we showed you all the attempts that CELUS made in the background. Now what we do, we only show you the last attempt that was made for a specific month. And so we will only see 2025 July DR report only once here. And if CELUS made more than one attempt, you will see a number that is higher than 1 here, and you will be able to have a look at the history. So here, for instance, you can see that there was an unsuccessful attempt, which I created today just by entering an incorrect URL. And it will tell me that there was an error, but it was done with an older version of the credentials. And with the current version of the credentials, there was a successful attempt, and it created this data. So it's now much easier to get back in the history. You can even filter it here, so you can only, for instance, have a look at the DR report and see all the months that were harvested and so on. Now that I am here, it might be interesting to show you another interesting feature here, and that is we have added support for the counter validator. Counter validator is a service offered by Counter where you can upload your data and it will go through the report and tell you if there are some formal problems with the data. So for instance, if there is, let's say, more requests than investigations, which shouldn't happen, if there are some other problems with the data. So anytime you find that, for instance, CELUS doesn't want to even like ingest your data for some reason and so on, it's very useful to use this button and upload the data to the validator. The validator is offered for free by Counter. Anybody can create an account there. And if I just click this button, CELUS uploaded this file into the Counter validator, and it gives me a link to the validation itself here. So when I click on it, I am back in the validator. I can see information about this file, and I can see that it ended up with a critical error. I can have a look at what problems there are report. As you can see, for instance, here, the total item investigations is less than unique item investigations, which shouldn't happen. But because this data is generated randomly, such things happen there. So this is expected behavior in this case. But if it's data from normal publisher, not randomly generated, then of course the errors that you will see here can be significant and can mean that there is some trouble on the side of the provider. So this is an interesting feature here. And once you save CELUS your API key, you can upload as many files as you want, and it will no longer ask you for it. It will remember it, and you can just go and have a look at another critical error for another file here. So this is integration with the counter validator. And now let's look at a different part of CELUS, and that's reports. So this is what we have changed. And more interesting new feature is that when you combine counter 5.1 with counter 5, for instance, and you merge these reports, or even if you don't merge them, in the previous versions, you didn't get all dimensions here. The year of publication, publisher, and platform in counter data were not here. This was a technical limitation caused by the way how the data is stored in the database in the background. But because it was very often asked feature to be able to, for instance, filter here by the year of publication, we implemented it so it's possible now to use even, for instance, year of publication as filter here. It's not that fast, but it's usable. So, for instance, if I were to select, let's say, 2 years of publication here, and I also decided to use the year here in rows, and now I run the report, you will see that you can see that it works even with the merged title reports here. So that's one of the new features in reporting. So if I now were to save the report, I will see another new feature. So, and now, as you can see, what you can see here is that I can tag it. We were asked if it would be possible, because sometimes if you create many reports, you will just no longer be able to find your way amongst the reports. So we were asked to create some kind of folder structure for reports. But folders have the unfortunate feature that if you put something into one folder, it cannot be in a different folder. So you want some more elaborate structure. It's not possible to do it with folders. So we decided to use the same way that you can tag titles and tag platforms and so on. We decided you could tag your report. So here I created a tag for report. So I can tag it. Let's save it. And if I now go here to reports, you will see that I have 2 reports here, and they are both tagged with this audience, everybody. And I can, of course, add new tags. You can work with it as you would when you are tagging your titles and so on. Which brings me to a new feature which I can show here. If you are tagging, we have changed the way how tags are managed in the user interface. So if I, for instance, want to tag this, it looks a little bit different. And you can see here that the tags are grouped by their tag classes. So I have created 2 of them, what is called target audience, and one is called when subscribed. And target audience is for whom this title is useful, and so I can select more of them here. And if it's an exclusive tag, like here, when subscribed, so you can either select future or now or past. It's just completely made up thing, but why not? So if it's exclusive, you can only select one of them, and it's represented by these radio buttons. And you can see here that now when I change it to future, it will change to future here. I don't need to save anything. I don't need to do anything. And Xmeter, you can even filter here. And when it's exclusive, it will not only show you the filtered value, but also, so this is another very interesting feature in the UI. So that's about tagging. Now I will go back to reporting just to show you one more thing, which is here. and which is related to the cost per use and to export with Excel with CELUS IDs. So for instance, the platforms or titles and so on, all those things have their IDs in CELUS, and those IDs are also available in the Data Hub. And if you want to export Excel and you want to preserve those CELUS IDs, you will just select export to Excel with CELUS IDs, and there will be extra columns for those IDs. And once you have it, you can use it, for instance, for tagging. So if you want to tag something and you would be uploading a new file, one of the things that is recognized in the file is the CELUS ID. If you export something from reporting, you can immediately use it then to tag those titles based on the exported title ID or database ID and so on. And another new thing that we added is that you can now tag based on the proprietary ID. So for instance, this is very useful for, let's say, databases and so on, which don't have ISSN or ISBN or something. But if you know the proprietary ID from the vendor, you can also do tagging by proprietary ID. Otherwise, it works similar to tagging by ISBN or these things. So that's about what you can do in reporting. Now some small updates in the Data Hub. Here you can see I have the Data Hub integration turned on. And if I click at, let's say, counter 5.1 TR report, you will see that there are two new columns here. One of them is called title ISBN H, which is a hyphenated version of the ISBN, because normally in CELUS we store the ISBN stripped of all those hyphens to just for normalization purposes. But sometimes if you want to combine, if you already have a title list with the hyphens in your file and you want to combine it with data from, so it's useful to have them in this hyphenated version. So if I were to, so this is a very ISBN, ISBN H, and proprietary IDs as a string from TR 5.1. So, and this shows the second feature is this new column IDs as a string, because proprietary IDs in Data Hub are normally exported as an array of IDs. But because Power BI doesn't work with these arrays well, it converts it into a string, which is then hard to work with. So we created another string version of the proprietary IDs, and this is pipe delimited string where all those IDs are combined together. So it's easier in the Power BI to split them by the pipe than to split by comma and then strip all the stuff that remains there and so on. So if I run this, you will just see that here is the ISBN, the normalized version, here is the one with the hyphens, and here is the pipe separated string with proprietary IDs. So this is something again that we added, especially when you are combining your data in the Data Hub with some external sources and working with it in Power BI and so on. So let's switch back to CELUS. Then I already mentioned the new tagging UI. Then there is one small feature where we added some extra information to items. And you can see here there are some items which have their DOI. And if I go to the item detail, I will see a new tab here called OpenAlex. OpenAlex is an open database of sources like articles, titles, and what we are doing is that when we have the DOI of an item, we will ask OpenAlex for data based on this DOI and show you here part of the data that we received back. So this is something that is done on demand. It's not stored in CELUS. If you click on this OpenAlex tab, we will on demand download this data for you. So you can see some data here like that. This is a review which was put in 2024. its OA status is closed. It was cited by 28 other articles, and you can see the citations by year here. And you can even click here and you will get into OpenAlex to more information about this particular item, about this particular work. So this is another small feature that might be useful for you. We have updated the specialized reports, the Australian national report and also the Spanish report to newer versions, which I would like to remind you that these reports are here. And if you have some national standard for reporting in your country and it's not already here, then please let us know and we can work with you and create it here. Because if you have to do the reporting to some national body every year or something, then it's very useful if you can just click a button here and we will give you the right answers and you don't have to go through the hassle of working with individual tables and collecting the data and so on. So if you are missing some report here, let us know and we will add it. And now I will switch back to my presentation, to the last part, which is about security, because we just last month we went through a security assessment or the penetration testing. Really no problems found that would be of any significance. But of course, people doing these penetration tests have to be paranoid, so they always find something and gave us some recommendations for how we could enhance the security of CELUS. So we implemented most of them, refused to implement some which would make your life miserable. So we, for instance, refused to implement logging you out automatically after 20 minutes of no action, because this is not something that we really feel that would improve the user experience. But what we did is that we now, there is one-time password, which is sent to you by email, the second factor. We will, if you enter it on one device, we will remember that device and we will not ask you for 1 month on this device. But what we have now changed is information IP address specific. So if you move with the same device from one network to another and you are given a different IP address, we will ask you the second factor again. This may be inconvenient for some of you who are commuting or something and the address is changed, but it really enhances the security. And if someone were to your session, because of this feature, they will not be able to get into your account because they would have to again give the second factor and they wouldn't have it. So I hope that this will be not too much bother for you. And every time you have to fill it in, please remember it's for your security. So hopefully you will not feel that bad and angry at us when you have to do it. Hopefully your IP address doesn't change so often or too often. So that's it from CELUS 11.3 and 4. Thank you for your time. And if there are any questions not yet answered, I will try to answer them. Otherwise, as always, feel free to let us know at ask@celus.net. We are able to offer you support of any kind. If you have any questions or any suggestions, just let us know and we are always happy to hear from you.